types of plants.
Yeah. Annuals, biennials, this is the main sort of, what the difference is, and generally just some of the better ones.
Right, so an annual plant is exactly what it says really. It'll just be sown in 1 year, it'll grow, flower and set seed all in the space of 1 year. Usually you'll set them in the March, April time and they'll flower June, July, August, September, and then the frost will kill them. They won't take any frost. That's half hardy annuals. Hardy annuals, the same principle, but they'll take a little bit of frost. So you can set those in the autumn time and then they'll grow and develop through the autumn and winter time, and then they'll flower the following year, which is similar to a biennial. But a biennial, you'll tend to grow by setting it in the March, April, May of 1 year, develop into a full-grown plant, but not flower till the second year. And then again, it can potentially set seed, but it will die. It's things like foxgloves, a good example of a biennial plant. But it does get a bit confusing with the annual ones because you get half-hardy and hardy. So half-hardy don't take any frost at all. So they're things like your lobelias. They're very tender. A half-hardy annual will be something like an annual chrysanthemum. Again, you can get chrysanthemums that are perennial, so they'll keep coming year after year. So it does get a bit confusing, but if you just look at the packets or the labels of the plants that you're buying, it will tell you. The other one is the perennial. So the perennial will flower year after year. So anything that flowers for more than 2 years or lives for more than 2 years is classed as a perennial. But that perennial can still die after 3 years. But it might live for 50 years. It just depends on what variety it is and what type of plant it is. And perennials tend to die back in the winter and they just keep the roots. And some keep greenery, but a lot of them die, herbaceous perennials die right back, and then they'll sprout again in the spring when the weather warms up and you'll get flowers again that summer. And that cycle will continue. They also may set seed, like a geranium would, a perennial geranium. And some people think that biennials might be perennials, but that's because they've set the seed and it's the new seedlings that are growing. It's not the same plant, it's a new plant from seed. The second year, when it flowers and sets seeds, you wouldn't then see any more flowers of the same plant for 2 years. They'll still be in the ground and they'll make little plants, but they won't flower for that 2-year period. So they'll germinate, grow on through the summer and the autumn, stop growing, but they'll still be visible, and then they'll start growing again in the spring of the following year and they'll flower again. I understand why people get confused, but if you know what your plants are when you buy them, don't just buy a load of seeds, because you might buy biennials and they won't flower till the following year. Again, some biennials, if you set them early, will flower that same year. Echinacea sometimes do it, foxgloves can do it, but it depends how early you set them in that first year. But there's still no guarantee that they'll flower that first year, because technically they'll want to develop the plant and flower the following year. You can start with any of them. Yeah. The thing is, with perennial, you're investing for the future, for a long time in front, because, as I say, I've got fuchsias in my garden that were my dad's. You know, they're like 50 years old and they still come back every year. Whereas if you are planning a new border and you want some colour, sort of instant colour that year, and you don't want to spend a lot of money, you're going to do it on a budget, buy seeds of annuals and, you know, like your cosmos, that sort of thing. Things that will grow quickly and flower that year, but intersperse them with perennials. Foxgloves are easy to grow. You get a lot of seed for your money. Again, you need to be careful with pets because the leaves are poisonous. So what else have we got here? And there's the foxglove that we've set, which is Cafe Creme. We've also got some perennials that we're going to set, and they're dianthus. Annuals are time consuming because you've got to sow the seed, pot them on, plant them out, deadhead them, and they only last that 1 year. So you're doing that repeatedly each year. If you can take some weight of work off yourself by planting some perennials, they're pretty reliable. They'll come back year after year. You might have to divide them, and they tend to grow outwards, so you quite often you get a hollow in the middle, like a dead clump in the middle. So you can split those off and cut that out and compost it, and then you can split your outer into 5, 6, however many plants you can get out of it. Some of your herbaceous ones will keep a little bit of the greenery. You might get a little clump of green that'll stay there all year, but as a rule of thumb, a lot of them just die down more or less to nothing. Yeah, your evergreens, you know, your shrubby plants, they'll be there all the time. So yeah, so Like this agapanthus, that's died off and that's just got a bit of greenery. It's not very attractive, so you wouldn't make a feature of it. Whereas some of your little bushes, they'll just keep the greenery on all year. The thing is, if it grows where it wants to grow, you'll get a better plant. So things like sunflowers, I just let self-seed in my garden. Foxgloves, they just grow everywhere. And they'll grow better because they've grown where they want to grow. You see things growing in stone walls, you know, and you think, how's that growing there? Or in a crack in a pavement? It's because it's ideal condition. I do like Japanese anemones because there's lots of different varieties, but they are a bit thuggish. They spread under the ground as well. They can get a bit invasive. So, but the flowers are worth it, and the foliage is nice. I do like fuchsias, but again they tend to. Again you can get annual ones, perennial ones, but it's the perennial ones I like because there's not much work and you get a lot of flowers for doing very little work. Geraniums are quite good. Again, you can get ones of those that will live for years and years. I like the geraniums that are the herbaceous border ones because again they can get quite big. They'll seed as well, so you get, and they'll divide. Your Japanese anemones will put flowers on, but they'll not flower till sort of August, September, October time. But once they're in flower, they'll stay in flower for a long time, and they'll flower late, so they'll still be in flower come October, November time. All right, mate.